Hello, this is Jerry Spinelli with the University of California Cooperative Extension of San Diego, and Eric and I have been working on biological control for agave mite, that is an areophid mite, specifically with predatory mite. And now I'm gonna show you what they look like. Okay, we're here looking at some predatory mites that are there walking around. They're right there in that petri dish, and they're all mixed up with that like sawdust material, but there's a bunch of them, and this is what they look like. And I just poured some of the content of this bottle. Again, this is Amblyceus wierskyii from Coppert, and now we're gonna try and put them together with some agave mites and see what happens. Okay, now instead we're looking at another kind of mites. We're looking at this Californicus, Neoceolus californicus, also from Coppert. For whatever reason they call it spical. And the packaging material here is vermiculite, but the mites are a little harder to see. They're a little smaller, and they're not as obvious as the wierskyii, and they're faster. All right, and now we have a small leaf from a small blue glow agave that is right there under the scope, and there we have a bunch of agave mites that are those little white moving things that you see here. And now Eric went to get a paintbrush, and we're about to brush some of these other guys that I showed you a minute ago, these predators that are like maybe 5 times larger or 10 times larger than the agave mites, and we're gonna see what happens. All right. Oh, they're right in there. Wow, look how fast is that guy.
Yeah.
Look how fast is that guy. Oh, what happened?
You still got it.
Well, but the other one, he threw that one away?
Yeah. Well, the other one I think was just sort of like incidentally attached.
Zoom in. Tell us what we're seeing, Eric.
So we have a Swirsky mite, Amblyceus wierskyii, and he's got in his mouth, carrying around with him, an agave mite. It's difficult to focus on him because he's moving around so much, but you can see the front of his body. Yeah, he's got now piercing into the outside of it. And earlier I'd seen some of them where they'll pierce into it and just sort of suck them dry and leave this kind of deflated husk behind. But yeah, there's the predatory mite carrying an agave mite around his mouth. Yeah, he's got one right now. See it?
Yeah.
He's biting into it.
This is Swirskyii.
Yes, the Swirskyii. So we never saw the Californicus eat anything, but saw the Swirskyii eat a couple of different things, and you can see him right here where he basically sucked it dry, and then maybe he'll grab this one. Yep, there he goes. So he just grabbed another one.
He sucks them dry.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to see.
Look at the egg right there.
Yep. But you can watch his mouth parts sort of extend, and then he'll stick it into the mite. And then I've seen it, it's not easy to see in this one, but I have seen it other times where you can see the mite like get drained and deflate.
Ooh.
As he eats it. Let's see, he's about to move on. Maybe he'll go after the egg. Yeah.
Ooh, the egg.
He's going into the egg.
Ooh. For breakfast.
Yep. So you could see that one pretty clearly before. He's eating it now. And let's see if he moves on.
Yeah, it's all
But yeah, now the egg is gone. You can't see it where it was anymore.
Does he have an areophid in his?
I don't know. It's hard to tell. It looks like he's got something sort of on his left-hand side that he's sort of poking at, like he's got something in his mouth.
Yeah.
So that could be an egg. It could be a deflated areophid.
Ooh.
Here we go. He's got it. See that?
Ooh. No.
Is he in focus for you?
There's a ton of them. There's eggs too.
Yep. We have a bunch of symptomatic agave over on the table here. You can see that a lot of them, especially around the core area, there's yellowing, there's splotches, there's greasy sections, there's different lesions. So if you have symptoms like this, you almost certainly have agave mites. These are exactly what you want to be on the lookout for. And what we want to test today are to see if different types of predatory mites can feed on the agave mites and knock back their numbers. So we're going to be testing two different varieties. We have Californicus and we have Swirsky. Both are commercially available. These came from Coppert. We're going to try both of them, put about 20 mites on each one of the plants and see if the predatory mites can eat the agave mites and hopefully clean up the infestation. So right now, it's numbers 5 and 6 transferring 20 of the Swirsky mites onto each one of the infected agave. So they come in this kind of medium, which normally you will sprinkle out onto the different crops that you want to be putting the predatory mites on. And so I'm picking through that and trying to find the individual mites, which are very small. You might be able to see some tiny little bits of movement, but for the most part, they're really only visible through the scope, or if you happen to get one out and separate, you will still be able to see it with your naked eye, but they're quite small.
All right, and for the study, the treatments that we have are UTC, untreated control. We have a S+C, that means Swirsky plus Californicus. So we're mixing together both predatory mites that we have. So we'll have 10 and 10 per plant here. This treatment here is C, it means Californicus only. And the ones that Eric has there are the Swirsky only. All right, tell us about this other treatment, Eric.
All right, so we're a little bit dubious as to whether or not the mites will work, largely because the predatory mites are quite a bit bigger than the agave mites, and we're worried that they won't be able to get down to really the base of the leaves where the agave mites live. So we're trying one last treatment where we are putting on a very, very large number of predatory mites, far more than you ever would if you were to purchase these and try to use them yourselves. Just as sort of a absolute best case, or perhaps worst case scenario as you're thinking about it, if we flood the plants with predators, will that get rid of the agave mites? So this would be kind of the optimum scenario with the most number of predators, and we'll see if it works. We'll do both types of mites on them and see if there's still agave mites afterwards.
All right, 2 weeks went by and now we're here again to pick up the various treatments, and we'll take them to the lab and we'll slice them up and we'll count how many Theriophyid mites are left to determine whether or not the predatory mites were working. And this is the treatment with the combo of the 2 predatory mites. This is the untreated control. That's a Swirsky treatment, and down there is the Californicus.
Okay, so we finished up both of our experiments. We found that yes, when we put Swirsky mites on pieces of agave that we had out with the agave mites on them, we found the Swirsky mites did eat both the adult agave mites and the eggs. So they will work in terms of eating the mites, but when we took a bunch of them, we put them on infested plants, we found that after 2 weeks, there was no effective treatment. That was true both of the Swirsky mites and the Californicus mites. So both predators, they didn't reduce the number of agave mites that were found on the actual plants. So these guys are not going to be working as a curative treatment. They're not going to get rid of your infestations. We think this might be because all of the agave mites are in sort of the core of the agave, hidden deep inside the leaves, where these predator mites, which are a bit bigger, might not be able to reach. So there's another side of things, which is that there's also aloe mites. They feed on the outside of aloes. They're much more exposed. So it's possible that because we know these mites will in fact eat things like the agave mites, we're going to be testing them on the aloes next and see if these could be useful biocontrol for more exposed mites like aloe mites as opposed to the agave mites where they didn't seem to work very well.